NFL best ball season is here, and for today's video, I am going to show you exactly how to take down a best ball tournament using win rate data, team stacking, player analysis, and more. Now, guys, I won over $3,500 in best ball prizes last year using the very same data that I'm going to share with you today, including placing second out of 9,336 people in the early mini best ball championship over on Drafters. And again, today, guys, I am going to share with you the exact same data that made 2025 so profitable, including how we are using it to absolutely dominate drafts in 2026. So be sure to tap that like button, tap that subscribe to the channel button, because there is a lot more data to get into in future videos. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, guys, before we go ahead and dive into today's draft, I want to personally invite you to BBS Best Ball number 1 for the 2026 season. This is a best ball draft with myself and 11 other members of the Basement Brewed Sports community. It is a 12-team, 20-round PPR best ball draft that starts when 12 people sign up. Now, the good news is it has a slow clock. It allows up to 8 hours per pick, so you can draft at your convenience. You don't have to be stuck at your computer for 2 to 3 hours, and it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks for the draft to finish. Plenty of time before kickoff way down the road in September. Now, it costs just $10 to play, and the top 3 scorers in the 12-team league are going to each win a cash prize. We are going to be playing on Drafters, and if you use code BBSMikey when signing up on Drafters, you are going to get a 100% deposit match all the way up to $100. So if you join the league for $10, Drafters is going to put $10 right back into your account. It's basically like you're going to do the draft for free, but you can win actual money. Now, guys, this contest is only open to the first 11 people that sign up, and candidly, 4 spots have already been taken by people in my Discord server. So now there's actually only 8 spots left in this best ball draft. So go ahead, act fast before the final 8 spots disappear. Use the link in the description of this video to get signed up. All right, guys, so for rounds 1 through 3, now we were lucky enough to land pick 1.01, which candidly is basically just a coin flip. Choose your favorite between Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, if you're like me, if you're going to be doing 150, 300, 450, 600 different drafts this year, then in this case, just play the portfolio game. When you have the 101, who do you have less of, Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs? Take whoever you have less of. Just kind of balance out that portfolio a little bit. In this case, for me, it was Bijan Robinson. So we went with Bijan Robinson at the 1.01. Now, guys, when you get to the round 2-3 turn, I mentioned at the top of this episode that we are going to use historical data to help influence some of these decisions. Now, I do have data from the top 300 teams on Drafters over the last couple years. What you see on the screen right now is suggestions for your 2nd/3rd round pick. You're going to see after round 3, the data strongly suggests having 0 quarterbacks, 0 tight ends, 1 running back, and 2 wide receivers. It strongly recommends not taking a second running back here. It strongly recommends having 2 wide receivers after 3 rounds. So for me, the decision was pretty easy. There are plenty of nice options at the 2-3 turn. We could choose between Nico Collins, Chris Olave, George Pickens, A.J. Brown, Rashee Rice. I'm not going to get into splitting hairs between all of those here. If you guys are interested in that, you can always get my 2026 Fantasy Football Draft Guide when that drops, which, spoiler alert, won't be too long from now, waiting for the NFL draft to wrap up. But for me, it was just playing the portfolio game. Nico Collins was a pretty automatic pick, and I didn't have enough exposure to Chris Olave, so I went with Chris Olave. Now, moving on to the next batch of picks. Now, as you'll see, we continued to follow the data after round 5. I know I don't have that on the screen, but just so you know, after round 5, the data strongly suggests rostering 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs after the first 5 rounds. And by the way, You'll see I took Mike Evans at that 4-5 turn. Can we talk really quickly about, I know I just said I won't split hairs or get into player analysis, but guys, Mike Evans is an absolute steal at the 4-5 turn of best ball drafts. He is an ideal X wide receiver in an ideal X wide receiver offense with an ideal X wide receiver coach in Kyle Shanahan. You take Mike Evans and Kyle Shanahan, and I promise you guys that fit could not be more perfect. So Mike Evans is going to have some absolute eruptions. The good news and the best thing about best ball is you don't have to predict when those eruptions are going to come. You just get the points when they do, and he's on your bench when they don't. The other caveat, the other note that I wanted to mention to you guys is that after doing 150 plus best ball drafts already this season in 2026, you guys need to know running back gets really ugly really fast after the 5th and a little bit of the early 6th round. We're going to talk more about that in future drafts, and we'll get into the details of that. But running back gets really ugly after the first 5, early 6 rounds. For now, it's just something for you to know as you go into your own drafts. Now, what you guys are going to see is after round 7, I deviated from the data in rounds 6 and 7. And guys, it's important to know that the data is helpful as a guide and as a reference point, but don't force yourself into any sort of strategy. Don't force yourself into any sort of draft just because the data recommends going that way. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but you're going to see after round 7, I deviated. And instead of rostering my first quarterback, which is what the data suggests, 58% of the top 300 teams had at least one quarterback after 7 rounds, I faded quarterback here, as you can see, and I went with a third running back, despite the data strongly suggesting I don't do that. The data suggests, hey, 49% of the top 300 teams had just 2 running backs after 7 rounds. Only 23% of them moved on to a third running back. So I went against the norm here, and there's 2 main reasons for that. Number 1, as I mentioned, running back gets really, really ugly really, really fast. Jaylen Warren, by the way, is a potential steal in the 7th round of PPR drafts, which is exactly what you play on drafters. You play PPR. He's going to be moving back into the Kenneth Gainwell role in 2026. Gainwell averaged 16.7 PPR points per game, 6.3 targets, 5.3 catches per game over the final 9 games of the season last year. And now he fled for greener pastures. He is now in Tampa Bay. The Steelers did sign early down banger Rico Dowdle from the Carolina Panthers. They also have last year's rookie dud in Caleb Johnson, none of which project to fit the Kenneth Gainwell role the same way that Jaylen Warren can fit. So if Aaron Rodgers returns, Jaylen Warren can be an absolute PPR machine, and he could be an absolute steal in the 7th round. Now, all of that being said, that's not even the main reason that I went away from the data and skipped a quarterback. It wasn't like, oh man, I see Jaylen Warren, I have to have Jaylen Warren. That's not what happened. The main reason that I skipped quarterback and grabbed another running back is knowing that I won't be stacking Nico Collins for a couple rounds yet. CJ Stroud isn't drafted until about the 12th round. Probably won't end up getting Tyler Shuck to go with Chris Olave. I wanted to stack Mike Evans with Brock Purdy. And when you look at Brock Purdy's ADP, you are going to see that he is frequently available around the 8th and 9th round turn. So no reason for me to reach for Brock Purdy here or force myself to take a quarterback that doesn't align with the rest of my roster when I can wait one more round and hopefully get Brock Purdy at the 8-9 turn. So I decided to roll the dice, scoop up Jaylen Warren, a potential PPR monster, and also grab Ricky Pearsall as my wide receiver 4, hopefully double stack him with Brock Purdy at the 8-9 turn and Mike Evans. That is the plan going into the next round, but did it work? Sure did. Brock Purdy was still available at pick 96. Easy auto draft, probably the quickest I've hit the draft button in this entire draft. Paired him up with Mike Evans, paired him up with Ricky Pearsall. Got both of those guys. I got San Francisco's double stack completely secured after the first 8, after the first 9 rounds. Now, guys, this is a perfect example of why it's important to keep ADP in mind when making your selections. It's the easiest way to extract value out of any draft. Now, round 8 was the easiest pick of the draft. Round 9 got us back in alignment with the data, which, as you'll see here, 74% of the top 300 teams had at least one quarterback, which we now have. 50% of the top 300 teams had 3 running backs, which we have. 43% of the top 300 teams had 4 wide receivers, which we have. And now 63% of the top 300 teams also had their first tight end, which we now have in Tucker Kraft. This was basically just a 3-way coin flip between Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts, Sam Laporta. Once again, I just used lowest portfolio exposure in this case to make this decision. I had less Tucker Kraft than I had Kyle Pitts or Sam Laporta, so Tucker Kraft was the choice there. Now, guys, if you haven't noticed, I prefer to play my best ball over here on Drafters. Now, both the app and the website are super slick, super easy to use. They routinely have some of the best contests, some of the best payouts available on a weekly and annual basis. And I always recommend to anybody who enjoys football season or even MLB, NBA, if that's your jam, definitely try out Drafters using the link that I left in the description of this video. And when you do, be sure to use code BBSMikey because you are going to get a 100% match on your first deposit all the way up to $100. Guys, it's like getting a free $100 to play fantasy football with. It is the ultimate no-brainer, if you ask me. All right, now getting into rounds 10 to 13 here, guys. Now, this is where you start to fill your bench with high upside depth pieces that could have much higher ADP next season if things break right for them this year. You should be basically swinging for the fences with these picks as you fill out your roster. Now, in the 10th round, Mike Washington Jr., one of my favorite RB selections at the 10-11 round turn. Also, we got to give a shout out to Rachaad White, my other favorite RB at that turn. I have a ton of Mike Washington exposure, a ton of Rachaad White exposure after 150 drafts this season. Josh Downs in the 11th. He is one of many high upside wide receivers that are available around that 10 to 11 turn. It includes guys like Xavier Worthy, Jalen Coker, Matthew Golden, and of course, one of my biggest regrets of the draft was skipping Jaden Higgins at this pick. I was hoping to I skipped on Jaden Higgins in round 11. I got a little bit too cute. I was hoping that he would come back to me at the 12 and 13 turn so that I could double stack him with Nico Collins and CJ Stroud to secure that Houston double stack to go with our San Francisco double stack. Unfortunately, Jaden Higgins was literally sniped just 2 picks before me at pick 144, so that was brutal. That one hurt a little bit, but thankfully, CJ Stroud himself, he did fall to 144. Easy selection, easy auto draft for me to go ahead and stack him with our wide receiver 1, which is Nico Collins. Now, round 13, that was merely a portfolio play. Again, I was hoping it would be Jaden Higgins, but at this point, I had almost zero exposure to rookie Casey Concepcion at the time of this draft, so it was an exposure play for me to go ahead and grab him with my 13th pick and keep our data in alignment with historical data of what works well in these drafters tournaments. So, as you'll see, we have 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 1 tight end, which is mostly in alignment with what you see from the top 300 teams over the last few years. 52% had 1 quarterback, 54% had 4 running backs, 45% had 6 wide receivers, and it was pretty much a horse apiece split between 1 and 2 tight ends at this point. Moving on to rounds 14 through 17. Again, all we're doing here is filling out our roster with high upside stashes. Now, candidly, my round 14 pick was by far my biggest regret of the entire draft. Taking Zach Charbonnet, big brain blunder, if you will. He'll likely be out for a good chunk of the season. He should be the team's RB1 when he's active, so he's not the worst pick in the world, but still, I do not have a lot of Zach Charbonnet. In fact, I think this is my only share of Zach Charbonnet after 150 drafts so far this year. Meanwhile, I do have a ton of George Holani in the 20th round. I have a little bit of Emmanuel Wilson in the mid-teens, but taking Zach Charbonnet in the 14th, not my favorite. That's by far my least favorite pick of the entire draft. That said, we did go ahead and turn around in the 15th round. We landed a Houston double stack. We were able to get Dalton Schultz to start the 15th round to stack him with CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. And then we went with Aaron Rodgers in the 17th round as our QB3. We're going to go ahead and stack him with Jaylen Warren. We're hoping to land Pat Freiermuth later in the draft when we need our third tight end. By the way, really quickly, guys, like I mentioned with running backs earlier, quarterbacks get insanely ugly, not even after round 17. They get really ugly after round 12. Typically in a best ball draft, because you can't make ads, you can't drop players, you can't trade for players, you want to get 3 quarterbacks, or 2 if you have a guy like Josh Allen, but 3 quarterbacks typically that are quote-unquote sure to start all 17 games. You want full season starters, and all of those guys disappear after round 12, with the exception of maybe Geno Smith in the 14th round, maybe Fernando Mendoza if the Raiders start him all season, but they didn't sign Kirk Cousins for nothing, and maybe Aaron Rodgers in the 17th round if he even returns to play another season. It gets really ugly at quarterback after round 12. And that, honestly, that's why I went away from the data here in the 17th round. I needed a third 17-game quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and even that's a stretch because who knows if the guy's even going to come back and play. But still, it's mostly in alignment with historical data. We're sitting at 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 7 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. You'll see 63% of the top 300 teams do recommend 2 quarterbacks after 17 rounds. 52% of the top 300 teams had 5 running backs, 48% had 7 wide receivers, and 62% had 2 tight ends. Okay. To wrap this thing up, guys, we finished the draft with Pat Freiermuth in the 18th round. We went ahead and double stacked him with Aaron Rodgers and Jaylen Warren with Pittsburgh. So arguably the most strange double stack that we have, but we do have 3 double stacks now. We scooped up Katron Allen in the 19th round. That's one of my favorite rookie stabs in the final rounds. And then last but not least, we got Kyle Williams, who is arguably my absolute favorite high upside 20th round pick in all of 2026 best ball drafts. I cannot stop hammering Kyle Williams when given the chance in the 20th round. Ultimately, we ended up with 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, and as you can see, a whopping 28% of the top 300 teams over the last few years on drafters finished with that exact build. 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 wide receivers, 3 tight ends. The next closest roster construction appears only half as frequently as the one that we ended up with. So, guys, this is just one of literal hundreds of drafts that I can break down with you guys over the next several months to help you take down a best ball tournament of your own. For now, though, remember to join the BBS Best Ball #1 using the link that I left in the description of this video. Come draft with me. Come draft with 11 other members of the BBS community, which you can also join, by the way, using another link that's in the description of this video. This is where fantasy football players, DFS players, bettors, this is where we're hanging out, talking ball, talking sports, 24/7. Weekly or monthly contests, monthly giveaways, lots of fun stuff happening inside the Discord server. But again, for now, just remember to come join the BBS Best Ball #1. We have 8 spots available. Again, you can join using the link that we left in the description of this video. But that's all I got for today's video, guys. If you enjoy the content, please be sure to tap the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. Guys, we have a lot of good content coming up in the next several months, if not years. We're doing betting content for the NBA playoffs. We're doing betting content for MLB season. We're doing fantasy football season content with best ball season ramping up. There's a lot of good stuff coming down the line. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. Guys, I think I'm 2 subscribers away from 1,000. Somebody help me out. Help me get there. That's all I got for you guys. I will be back tomorrow. I will post we'll get back to the NBA betting. We're going to go ahead and dive into NBA playoffs and what are the best picks for prize picks, underdog, etc. So another reason to subscribe. Make sure you don't miss that. That's all I got for you guys. Good luck out there. We will see you in the best ball streets. Peace.